6 Baltimore City police officers now are facing criminal charges connected to the death of Freddie Gray. They were booked and processed as they turned themselves into authorities. Baltimore's top prosecutor determined Gray's death was in fact a homicide. Many had protested for weeks, demanding the officers be held accountable. And we have live pictures from Baltimore. Protests have been going on all day. CCTV's Roee Ruttenberg is live for us in that city. Roee, how would you describe the mood?
Well, I'm here outside of the Baltimore City Hall, right here in the center of the city. I don't know if you can see them behind me, but the protesters returned here about 15 minutes ago after walking through various parts of the city. I should note that we understand that the 6 police officers who were arrested, or I should say turned themselves in, have now posted bail, so they are out of police custody, as is part of the judicial procedure here. Many people here saying that this is part of a victory in the process. This has turned very much into a celebration in some parts of the day, and that was really some of the mood that we saw in various parts of the city. Scenes of jubilation on the streets of West Baltimore, parts of which just days ago were burning. Residents here say justice is now one step closer.
We can see now, not only when police do wrong, they'll be charged for it. So don't get mad at the cops. Don't say, oh, all cops are bad. It is crooked cops out there, but we have a state's attorney that's going to put those crooked cops behind bars.
I'm not taking Freddie Gray's justice lightly, but all of you have a responsibility to stop ignoring all the injustice that goes on in the Black African-American community today from our government. It's not a black-white thing, it's a government-black thing.
The tide turned when on Friday morning, the Baltimore State's attorney announced 6 officers would indeed face criminal charges over the death of a young black man last month. Prosecutor Marilyn Mosby says she believes there is enough evidence to convict.
Lieutenant Rice, Officer Miller, and Officer Nero failed to establish probable cause for Mr. Gray's arrest, as no crime had been committed by Mr. Gray. Accordingly, Lieutenant Rice, Officer Miller, and Officer Nero illegally arrested Mr. Gray.
A lawyer for Gray's family said they were pleased with the announcement.
If Freddie Gray is not to die in vain, we must seize this opportunity to reform police departments throughout this country so that there are no more days and times like this.
The 6 may now face the possibility of decades in prison for their alleged roles in what Maryland's chief medical examiner determined to be a homicide. The driver of the police van, Mosby said, will be charged with second-degree murder. This over an incident the police say started with simple eye contact between an officer and Gray. Gray took off running and after being apprehended was found to be carrying what police said at the time was an illegal knife. On Friday, Mosby contradicted that initial assessment, saying the knife was completely legal. Gray's arrest, she said, was not. A local police union and a lawyer for the police said the 6 did nothing wrong.
This decision to charge them officers is going to make our job even harder. I can say that.
I believe that the publicity in this case is driving force to arrest to judgment and causing this prosecution to move so quickly.
Following the announcement of charges, political leaders at the local, state, and national level chimed in, saying they hope justice will be served.
What I think the people of Baltimore want more than anything else is the truth. That's what people around the country expect.
All eyes will remain on Baltimore to see how this case ultimately plays out. Assuming this goes to trial, the prosecutors would have to convince either a judge or a jury of 12 civilians that the officers are guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt. Failing to do so may have ramifications, obviously, that extend beyond the courtroom and will affect the people who are out here. Now, earlier in the day, some of the people we saw here included the Democratic U.S. Congressman for this area, Representative Elijah Cummings. I spoke with him and I asked him, for people watching from abroad, how this could be happening in the United States of 2015. Let's have a listen.
Our country is now doing a major shift, and it's shifting away from high incarceration rates, looking more at more liberal marijuana laws, and also hopefully we're moving more towards improving the relationship between communities and the police.
One of the criticisms often made of the U.S. is the high incarceration rate, particularly of African American men. Do you think that the liberties that America says it upholds these are not guaranteed to all of its citizens? Do you think this is part of the bigger problem?
I think that America must take a look at itself. As the president said yesterday, these issues are not new. We need to take a look at ourselves and ask ourselves whether when we are incarcerating a far greater percentage than just about, I think, any other country of its population, and we are the home of the free and a democracy, and that we go around the world spreading democracy, we got to make sure that we're doing democracy and doing it well. And so we still have work to do.
You are an African-American congressman, a politician at the national level. The president is an African-American, the attorney general an African-American woman, the mayor of Baltimore, the prosecutor, 2 African-American women. Do you think that this diversity at these levels will ensure that another instance like this does not happen in the future?
It will not necessarily ensure it, but it makes it a little less likely.
As a representative of your constituent and as a representative of the African-American community in some sense, would you say to people from the outside who are watching that things are getting better or things are getting worse?
I think in some instances they're getting better, and in some instances they're getting worse. I think this case today, the filing of the charges, is going to send a message throughout this entire country that you cannot disregard the health, welfare, and safety of another human being when that person is taken into custody by the police. And it's going to reverberate all over the country and perhaps all over the world.
The Congressman Elijah Cummings there speaking, reflecting the mood of some of the people here who feel that this isn't just about justice for Freddie Gray or for the Gray family, but justice for a part of society that says it's been waiting a long time to see it. Asiye?
Roee Ruttenberg live in Baltimore. Thanks.